Hello, my name is Cindy Colley, and I'm excited today because I get to talk to you about my very favorite Lads to Leaders event, which is Keepers at Home, or Keepers for short. A few years ago, some of the minds, the moms and mentors in Lads to Leaders began to reflect on the exciting things that our girls were doing through the Great Lads to Leaders program that many of your congregations are already utilizing. It was so exciting to think about. They were learning to speak. They were learning to speak in ladies' forums, those women-only settings that we have, ladies' nights out, ladies' days, purity days, teen devotionals, and they were growing in those skills that could be used in their communities, but especially in the kingdom later on. They were learning in songs of praise how to lead songs. They were learning musical skills, but also leadership skills that are helpful in ladies' days and those women-only settings. And let me tell you something, when I go and speak at a ladies' day, I can generally tell which congregations are utilizing Lads to Leaders by the degree and the intensity of the girls' involvement in those programs. And I'm so encouraged and excited when I see our girls progressing so that I know the next generation of those events are going to be in good, solid hands. As we reflected back on what the girls were learning, we learned that we thought about their photography skills being used in mission fields. They were using their art skills in our buildings to make beautiful bulletin boards that would be inviting to the community for our buildings. They were learning debate in women-only settings again. They were learning scriptural, doctrinal matters that would help them grow up and be evangelistic and be able to actually present truth in a loving but forthright manner in Bible studies with other women. All of these things were so very exciting to us as we reflected. But then we thought about one particular area that maybe there was a bit of a void when we think about Titus chapter 2 and we think about that injunction there for older women to be teaching younger women some things that are listed there in verses 3 through 5. And one of those things is keepers at home. And we thought, wow, that is a big array of information and skills and life-making, home-making areas of interest that we really aren't covering in Lads to Leaders. So some smart people got their minds together and began to plan. It was an imagination first, and then it was a written program, and now hundreds of girls have actually earned awards in the Keepers at Home program. And this includes 14 categories for girls grades 3 through 12, and they are very practical categories, and they are mentored categories. And when we looked at Titus 2 and we thought about older women teaching younger women, we thought, well, what better venue, what better tool to use than the mentoring program, Lads to Leaders? Because Lads to Leaders is really built around mentoring older people, mentoring younger people. And so it's a great venue for us to do what Titus chapter 2 teaches us to do, teaching younger women to be keepers at home. So we came up with 14 categories, and they are everything from sewing to cooking to house cleaning to laundry. We have included there information resources where we encourage the girls to set up a home library so that they can be teaching their daughters, or they can use those libraries in evangelistic efforts. We did health and nutrition, where we have actually a health professional come in and teach the girls about diet and exercise and actually set the girls up on an accountability system where they're exercising. They make up their own exercise regime for, I think, 6 weeks or so, and then they log those in and bring those back, and they can earn the Health and Nutrition Award. We did child care, child discipline. I know lots of you grandmas are going to be really glad that we are helping our girls prepare themselves to discipline children, have children respect authority in the home, all kinds of homemaking skills and talents are being put to use in the Keepers program. As I said, it's available for girls ages, well, the 3rd grade all the way through high school, and ideally a girl could earn all 14 awards between 3rd grade and high school. And I'm telling you what, that is a very practical way to be prepared one day to be married and raise children so that the kingdom will be richer because of the kinds of children that these girls are preparing to raise for the kingdom of God, boys and girls. We want to raise up our girls so that they'll be able to produce the church's future preachers and elders and preachers' wives and elders' wives. And what a great way to do this. We also decided to include a way that the boys who are doing the Providers program, which is the brother program of Keepers at Home, you know, that's the program, a wonderful program where the boys are learning to do family financial planning, they're learning how to change a tire, to do plumbing, to do electrical work. The boys who are in the Providers program can cross over into the Keepers program one time each year. So they can kind of snatch a program from the Girls Keeper program if they would like to, and do that, meet those requirements so that they can actually use those requirements to earn one of their Providers awards. And they can do that one time a year. Let's say a boy would like to be a chef when he grows up. So he'd like to come over and do the cooking, meet the cooking requirements and use those for Providers. Or let's say that he might want to be he's planning on being an elder, he's planning on being an evangelist, or just an evangelistic Christian. He can reach over into the Keepers section and collect his home library. And the girls would be using it to teach classes for young children or to babysit children using their home library while their parents are doing evangelistic work, or they might use the library even for a Bible study with a non-Christian or with a Christian who's struggling and needs to grow. The boy might use that library as he advances and plans to be a leader in Bible study in the Lord's church. So those programs are, to a point, interchangeable. The boys can reach over into the girls' program. Primarily, though, Keepers is the fulfillment of older women teaching younger women to be keepers at home. Now, it might seem overwhelming to you. You might think, wow, you know, that 14 categories, that's a big program to start up in our congregation. Let me just tell you that congregations don't typically say, okay, this fall we're going to do 14 Keepers programs. At West Huntsville, which is my home congregation, we're in our 6th year now, and each year we've only added one of the categories. So the first year we just did cooking. And for cooking, it's a program that our girls love. We have an older woman, I would say she is probably in her late 70s, but she is a fantastic cook. Southern cooking, chicken and dumplings and rolls that you just can't believe. And so our girls love going over to her little apartment. She's in assisted living now, and she teaches them all about using the blender and the mixer and the microwave and the dough hook in the mixer and the stove and all of those things, and our girls just love it. I think that we have maybe some shots of that. Our girls just love that. And the secret is Miss Rachel, who is our older woman in this case, loves it probably a little bit more than they do. So cooking was the first one that we did. The next year we simply added another program. We added food preservation. We have a girl in her 30s who loves to make jams and jellies. You can even do simple freezer jellies, and our girls love to do food preservation. And in that venue, they sort of have some Christmas gifts to give to older people in the congregation already done because they've participated in the Keepers program and learned to can and freeze jellies and to use the harvest in the fall. And that's the time of year that they do food preservation. The next year, I think we added maybe information resources, which is the collection of the home library. I think the next year we added health and nutrition. We have some nurses in the congregation who were willing to come and talk to our girls. And we offered mentorship this year in 6 categories. Now, that doesn't mean that the girls individually can't do any of the 14 that they choose to do. Of course, they can do those independently. But each year we try to add a mentorship in one category. Well, this year we added sewing, and I'm very excited that I got to do part of the mentorship in sewing with our girls. We had a couple of girls who wanted to do sewing this year. They're about 12 years old. We had another girl who's 20 years old who had just taken a sewing class recently, and so I invited her to be a co-mentor with me in the sewing department. Now, this is my favorite one because I love to sew. And so we met last week at the building and made these little pillowcase dresses. You can see them, and the girls had a big time picking out the fabric because they wanted coordinating fabrics, because what we were doing was we chose a missionary family and this family is in Grand Bahama. And so they have 4 little girls, 4. And the oldest one is 9, then they have a 5-year-old, they have a 2-year-old, and coming up, they are about to give birth to one more girl. And so she will wear this tiny little dress. And we are getting ready to mail those. I'm going to go home and put these in a box. Our girls who made them wrote letters to this missionary family. So in this keepers category this year at West Huntsville, our girls are learning to sew, and they are very proud of these dresses. In fact, they wanted to take them home and keep them over the weekend so they could show them to their parents and other people. They could kind of savor what they had made a little bit, and then they brought them back to me with their notes, and those are going in the mail this week. So they learned sewing, but they also learned a bit about evangelism, about supporting our evangelistic efforts, and we're very excited to hear back from the little girls who receive these dresses. The program is Keepers at Home, Keepers for short. You will not regret the time that you spend, older women, teaching younger women these very practical and yet very biblical skills that will enrich their families, their communities, and most of all, the Church of our Lord for the next generation to come. Thank you so much for your time, and especially thank you for all that you do for Lads to Leaders.